Hello, we're going to learn how to change our oil today in our vehicle. Okay, always want to consult your local laws for disposal, or if you can even do it. You may live in an apartment complex where you can't do this, so just check with them accordingly. Also check your owner's manual or your manufacturer as far as their proper equipment you're going to need for your vehicle. First thing you're going to need is an oil filter. Many brands out there, just happen to choose Fram today. Oil, proper viscosity for the vehicle we're working on. A funnel to pour the oil in once we've drained it and have to refill it back up again. Standard ratchet, you're going to need that to take the drain plug out. Proper socket for this vehicle we're working on is 15 millimeter. An extension bar for the ratchet, always good to have just in case you don't have to go looking for it. Oil filter wrench to take the oil filter off if it's too tight. Towel to clean up, wipe your hands off, clean up any oil that may spill. Some gloves you want to keep your hands clean and dry, keep the oil and dirt and grime off your hands, make it easier for clean up later. And last but not least, we have a pan to catch all the oil in. We'll use that when we're done to take and be able to recycle it based upon local laws. These are the items we're going to need to start our oil change. Alright, as you see, here's the interior of the vehicle. Right here is where you're going to put your oil in once you've drained it. Different people have different rules on it. Some people will say that open this up before you drain it. Some people don't. To me, it doesn't matter either way. Right here, if you look right down here, you'll see that there is a yellow loop. That's the oil dipstick. That's how you check your oil. See how much is in your how much oil you're gonna have, and that'll come into play once we're done. I have everything here ready to go, so it's a lot easier for me. As you see, I got my oil drain pan, I got my oil filter, got my wrench right here in my hand with my socket, and everything up top here. So we're gonna go ahead and move up underneath the vehicle. Alright, I'm gonna crawl up underneath the vehicle here, and there's not a lot of room, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen my bolt for my oil pan first. Make sure lefty loosey, righty tighty, because you don't want to break that off. Big thing is you don't want to drop that drain plug into where the oil goes, because if you do, it will stop the hole up. Depending on your pan, the pan I have is a self-contained one that I can go ahead and pour it right back into the old container so I can take it to the local recycling area and be done with it. Now my oil is going to go ahead and drain out. Now this little drain plug, you want to make sure you keep it clean. So that rag I had earlier, I'll go ahead and wipe it off. And I'll let that oil drain out. Okay? Real simple. And I'll set it off to the side here. Get another rag here so I can set it on so it doesn't get dirty. Alright. Now while that's draining, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find the oil filter. And I'm going to loosen that. It's right here, right behind the exhaust pipe. So it's pretty easy. I just have to reach up in my hand and just loosen it up just a little bit. When I put them on, I only put them on hand tight so I can take them off again. Okay, real easy. Now oil is draining. A lot of times what I'll do is I will pull my oil pan to the very front here, as you can see, and I'll reach up and I'll pull the oil filter out and I'll drain both of them at the same time. That's just a little bit easier as far as draining that. Now as you see, there's oil right here on the exhaust pipe, so really going to be really important afterwards that you clean that off, because if not, it will burn everywhere. Now that we've checked, we let it drain out all the way. Look underneath, there's a few little drifts, but that's okay. That's not going to hurt it. All of the oil is out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to replace our oil filter. So what we do is we take our standard oil filter that we have, and we want to put some oil on this black ring right here. This black ring right here is the gasket that seals it up to the frame of the vehicle, the engine block. So what we want to do is we're going to take our new oil and we're going to open up our new oil. And I usually just use my funnel here to pop a hole in the top here to open that up. Now, varying schools of thought. Some people say old oil is fine. I prefer just to use the new oil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my finger in. You see the oil I have on there? And I'm just going to put a thing of oil around that gasket, and that just helps it seal better to the block. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come down and wipe my hand off, of course. Make sure there's no dirt and stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put the new oil filter on. But prior to doing that, I'm going to pull this old one out and I'm going to look for that same black oil ring. Make sure it's on the old filter. Why is that important? Because if it's not taken off, what will happen is on the new one, it'll push it out too far and then you have an oil leak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach up the same place I took it from and I'm going to put this back in there. Alright, so when we're putting this filter back on, one of the big things we want to make sure we do is we don't cross-thread it. So you got to take your time, and it should go on just very easily. And when you put it on, you just want to put it on hand tight so you feel a little bit of resistance, and then take and turn it a quarter to half a turn just to hold it in place, and it'll be nice and tight. And that, not only that, it won't leak any oil, and when you go ahead and take it off next time, it will be a whole lot easier to take off. Our next thing we're going to do is we're going to push our oil pan back a little bit so that we can put our drain plug back in. Because if we don't put our drain plug back in, guess what? All that, when we go to put our oil in, all of that oil is going to fall out. Now, same thing with this here. Put it in hand with your hands so you don't cross thread it, because if you use a ratchet when you first do this, you have a tendency to cross thread it. Let me grab my rag so that, as you can see, I'm going to clean off any oil that may have dripped. It's not going to hurt anything, but it'll cause your vehicle to smoke, and you know, people look at you funny going down the road, and you know, you really don't want that. I'm gonna, now that I've got that really good, okay, and I'm going to get my ratchet. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Flip the button on the back of your ratchet and just go ahead and hand tight. You don't want it too tight. You don't want to get on there and wrench it. And I'm going to push my oil pan back underneath where the drain plug and the oil filter come down, so that when I start putting my oil back in, I don't have to worry about it going on the ground. So next we're going to go ahead and do that. So this is a real simple process. You know, all you're going to do is now you're going to pull that cap off that we loosened up in the beginning. Grab your funnel and put your funnel into the oil fill spot and just start pouring your oil in. Just take your time and just let it go in. This vehicle takes 5 quarts, so it'll take a couple minutes for this to all go in. And one of the things you want to do is you want to put a little bit in, you want to stop, you want to hop down underneath and look, make sure nothing's leaking underneath, which is always a good sign. And then you're going to come back up and you're going to finish it. This is a new bottle for me. Using, and a lot of the oil manufacturers, they're going to these type of bottles, whereas though you do an entire oil change with one bottle. Instead of have 5 or 6 plastic bottles, you got one, which is going to be really nice for when I'm done, because I'll be able to pour my used oil back into this container and then put the lid on it and be done with it. And then I'd take it to my local recycling place and be good. And just be careful when you're filling it, because sometimes the funnel will fill up with oil and it may come over, so you don't want to do that. And I want to get my cap. I want to put my cap back on. You know, and I try to clean up as I go, so it makes the job a whole lot easier. And I'll take my I'll put my rag right here, so I'm not dragging oil across my thing. I'm gonna put my funnel back on my little lid cover, and I keep my oil funnel in a little plastic container, so that way there it's taken care of, it's all contained, and any oil that drips, it drips inside of that, and I don't have to clean up a mess in my garage. So, all right, now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check my oil. So, all right, last thing we're going to do is we're going to check how much oil we have. Okay, like I told you before, you got the yellow dipstick right here. Now we want to have a clean rag. The reason we want to have a clean rag is because this stick is going to be directly in contact with the oil that's inside the engine. You don't want any dirt or grime or anything inside there. So first thing you want to do is you want to pull it out, you want to wipe it off. Okay, and on here it has two holes. It has one that says minimum, and then there's one that says maximum. There's a bunch of hash lines. So as long as your oil level is between those two, you're good. And that goes with anytime you check your oil. You always want to check your oil every time you fill up. Because, you know, especially when you got older cars, you know, it leaks oil. This vehicle has over 300,000 miles on it, and it's a 2003. So I always check my oil whenever I fill up. And I got nice clean oil, and it is between my hash marks. So I'm going to wipe it off again. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in there, and I am good to go. And I'm going to wipe off anything else, and I'm going to look around, make sure anything else. This concludes our tutorial on how to change oil. Thank you very much for your time. You have a great day.